Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Happy Thursday. We're gonna do this discovery tour. Just curious. What's all in it? Open tour menu. So there's challenges or yeah, it's well, I wish I could play the cinematics again. The map tracks your progress throughout each region of ancient Greece. Use the filters to help show you tours or discovery sites you are looking for. Press A to place a marker on the map. Okay. There's 11 tours. 76 discovery sites. Explore the glorious Acropolis of Athens and experience the sacred landmarks within. Stations 9, estimated time 25 minutes. Go to tour. I wish I could play the cinematics again.
Αδύνατον εστί!
Άνεμον διώκεις ο άνθρωπε! Greetings, wanderer, and welcome to the Acropolis, the shining jewel of Athens. My name is Aspasia. Though I am not originally from Athens, I have climbed to the top of its social ladder using my wit and intellect. I've even earned the love of Pericles, one of the most powerful men in the city. The mind truly is a beautiful thing. Personally, I think the Acropolis is one of, if not the, greatest place in all of Greece. Though, considering it was the project of my partner, Pericles, I may be a touch biased. The Acropolis of Athens is a bastion of art and culture worthy of the gods themselves. Within this citadel, you will find many important sacred buildings, as well as some of the most magnificent art in all of Greece. You are in for a very enlightening visit. When you're done, come find me, and we can discuss the things you have seen. Farewell for now.
The Acropolis has gone through many changes in its long history. It began as a simple rock, was settled as early as the Neolithic period, and then became a fortress in the Mycenaean period. Stone buildings started appearing in the 7th century BCE. But the famous structures whose ruins remain visible today date mainly from a period of construction in the 5th century BCE. The location of the Acropolis is closely tied with Athens' foundation myth. Supposedly, it was the site where Athena and Poseidon competed for the city's patronage. This connection gave the Acropolis a sacred aura, and it was considered the religious heart of the city.
Does the interactors do the same thing?
The Acropolis, it began as a stone building the location supposedly.
Okay. Up to the next spot. Let's take this discovery tour.
The Temple of Athena Nike was built on the remains of old fortifications from the Mycenaean era. Worship at the temple can be traced back to the 6th century BCE, but the building itself was destroyed during the Greco-Persian Wars a century later. It was rebuilt during the Peloponnesian War. Given that the name Athena Nike roughly means Athena of victory, it was likely constructed in the hopes that Athens would win the war. Unusually, the temple depicts historical scenes of battles against the Persians instead of the more mythologically inclined art of other Greek buildings. The temple's priestess was chosen randomly among the Athenians and received a salary of 50 drachmae annually, along with skins and trophies from sacrificed animals.
Interesting. Discovery sites. There are discovery sites all over the world. Interact with them to learn more on ancient Greece. Many are hidden throughout the world. Find them to unlock special characters.
The Acropolis was built up over a long period, due in no small part to its partial destruction during the Greco-Persian Wars. It was in the 5th century BCE, though, that the Acropolis received its most significant improvements. This period was an extremely prosperous time for Athens, both financially and culturally. With a booming economy bolstered by trade and the Lavrion silver mines, Pericles, the leader of Athens, financed a huge project to rebuild the citadel. He enlisted the help of renowned artists, like the sculptor Phidias, as well as the architects Iktinos and Callicrates. Together, they erected buildings like the Parthenon and the Propylaea Gateway. Pericles' goal was to make the Acropolis into a glorious monument to the gods and to mortal Athenians.
Προγράμματα το παραδείγματι των έργων αυτού την αντιβάλλομεν το δέον γενέστε εις τεινά συλλογισμών, αλλά της θέμηδος ναός ούκ εστί πανήγυρης.
The Acropolis was built up over a long period, due in no small part to its partial destruction during the Greco-Persian Wars. It was in the 5th century BCE, though, that the Acropolis received its most significant improvements. This period was an extremely prosperous time for Athens, both financially
Είναι ασταθή εν επιχείρημα 2 οι όροι ισή, γίγνωση χώραν, το ημέτερον σώμα, ως πετάριτο. Τραγωδία ανέρετη.
Behind the Propylaea was the giant bronze statue of Athena Promachos, or Athena who fights on the front lines. That name was reflected in the spear and shield the statue held in its hands. It was erected in the mid-5th century BCE by the artist Phidias. According to an inscription, it took 9 years to make and cost almost 500,000 drachmae. At approximately 10 meters tall, the statue was apparently so large that Pausanias claimed its helmet and spear tip could be seen from the sea near Cape Sunion, 60 kilometers away. The ornamentation on the statue's shield was engraved by the metalsmith Nis.
Μεγαλώνουμε και πολιώνουμε, πονία και θηροκτώνε.
Athena, who was born from Zeus. She was also conceived as the goddess of wisdom, and her most famous symbol was the owl, which was often engraved on Athenian coins and painted on vases.
The Araphoroi were young girls between the ages of 7 and 11 who were in charge of special rites. A list of 4 girls was drafted by the Assembly of Citizens. from which the High Magistrate, the Archon Basileus, chose 2 to serve as Eraphoroi for the year. The girls lived in a house on the Acropolis. They were in charge of carrying sacred objects and weaving the peplos of Athena. The peplos was a sacred robe offered to Athena during Panathenaea, a festival held in her honor.
Huh.
Αλλά εις τα στραγωδία Σοφοκλής δείχνει συνήθιμη τρόπο επιχειρησάνε. Σαλόνι με κεφολιών, ψωνία και θηροκτών, λαυρών και λυκυρία
These spots for special gems.
κατέχεις ωραίων δρυμμούς, δέχεα σώθηρη,
One stands by altar before and offerings from Ah, you get characters. Yes. Yeah, I knew it.
The Erechtheion was an atypical temple. It was dedicated not only to Athena Polias, but also to Kekrops, the mythical founder of Athens, his son Erechtheos, and even Poseidon, the sea god who challenged Athena for possession of the city. The temple was divided into sections. The eastern part housed a statue dedicated to Athena, while the western section jointly belonged to Poseidon and Erechtheos. Meanwhile, King Kekrop's grave was believed to be under the caryatid porch. Under the temple was a crypt that was said to contain the sacred snakes of Athena. The snakes may have had a sweet tooth because the priestesses of Athena allegedly fed them honey cakes.
Ποιος εμέ περιπέσει.
Oh, I'm gonna go back and see. I think there's another character down here. Right?
Επικαλούμεσαι, μάκαρ πολιώνουμε.
Μόνον όταν το επιχείρημα δομείται πιστικών, τότε δυνατόν κερδάνε
In a sacrifice scene of a red figure. Let's go to the big thing. Priest in a sacrifice scene of a red figure bell guitar attributed to the photos painter 5th century BE CE.
Είναι σταθεί ένα επιχείρημα 2, η Odyssey, το γίγνωσιν και το
Εάν
επίσταστη.
σε μαστιγούν ενέκα τούτου,
Αλλά
τα
εις
ημέτερα
τετραγωνικές
συντία εδίδενται υποχειρός.
Πώς
Χείρος εντός, πώς δυνατόν εις η ώρα αν έναν χείρο εντός της υποθήκης.
Οδηγούν επιδημείτε ο άντρες και γυναίκες.
Και μετά
Μετά δι παριστάνε το άκουσμα. Τι αλλού ευρίσκεται η γνώσης, είναι η πάρεξ ο βιογέφρον που πεπεν...
437, 432 BCE. Discovery sites, 11 of the tours. Athena.
Επικαλούμε σε, Μάκαρ, πολυώνυμε, πυρήπολε και τελετάρχα, Θεόν πάτερη δε και ιέ, σκυπτούχε, κούρε δημάτορ, βοτριόκος με οδηγέ των κομμών. Μεγαλώνει με θεά, αγλαότητα, αποφέρεται το πληρή του ατόπου υποφάλτων, λέγει, ιδέο άνθρωπος και ιδέ του δέον κράτης. Συνίσχυ των κηκαιών του μυαλού ο Θεού, την υγεία με θυσίαση. Πολιτικός όρος, ως περτής και άλλος πολιτικός νους νικής.
That's no doe, though. That's a buck. He's got horns. He's got antlers. So that's no doe. Huh.
Τραγωδία ανέρεσης εστί. Εστί μιασμός μυτιόμενος ή να κλονίσει την ισορροπία του πνεύματος. Τραγωδία διαφνήρει τους νέους και ούτε καταμαλθακίσονται.
Hey, just so everybody know, I jumped from the helmet.
Πυρήπολε και τελετάρχα.
Olive Tree of Athena. Bronze coins of Athena depict Athens standing beside an olive tree on the reverse. Huh. 1952 they planted the olive tree, huh? Alexios the hunter. Ooh. We're getting characters. Phoebe was one of my most excited ones I got. She's cool. Be nice to have Phoebe on the thing. Altar. Let's see. Fully armed in front of a small burning altar on a neck amphora of Panathenaic shape. Tribute to the Princeton painter, 6th century BCE. Interesting. Discovery sites. Sanctuary of Zeus. Polios. Polios? Polio?
Πατήρ μου έλεγε «Δίν με δίνε εις θέατρος». Ήρθου τον εξωτερικό.
Over the wall.
Επικαλούμεσαι, Μάκα, πολυώνυμη, πυρήπολε και τελετάρχα.
6 of 9. Interesting, they're taking it this way, huh?
The Parthenon is one of the most well-known buildings in the world and an enduring symbol of ancient Greek civilization. While it is located on the Acropolis, the building is not a traditional temple. It was built by the sculptor Phidias and the architects Callicrates and Ictinus as a great monument to the glory of the city of Athens. That glory is evident in its many carvings. One of the most carved monuments in Greek architecture, the Parthenon's decorations depict several mythological scenes. These include the birth of Athena, her fight against Poseidon for the patronage of Athens, the gods' battle with the giants, and the procession of the great Panathenaea.
Is there a first-person view in? Interesting.
The Parthenon's inner chamber, or cella, contained a massive statue of Athena that was considered to be one of the sculptor Phidias's greatest masterpieces. The statue was chryselephantine, a combination of gold and ivory. To justify the steep cost of its construction, Pericles told Athenians that the statue was a gold reserve, which could be disassembled in times of economic distress. The cella also allegedly contained a pool, whose main purpose was to control the room's humidity, which helped preserve the statue's ivory.
Really? Who would have thought that the pool was there to how do you exit out of first person? There's a thing right behind here. The great foot race event, 6th century. Photo mode. Inspired by the architecture and scenery of ancient Greece, take a picture. And then what do I do? Preview. Switch to edit mode. 101 meters down there. I don't know if we're gonna go down there. This is all in my attempt to. I've gotten several characters for the ship. I got Phoebe. I got the Hunter. So definitely interested to see what they kind of bring.
Athens' treasury was located in the Parthenon, where it was believed to be protected by Athena herself. The treasury contained objects of great value, acquired from different conquests, as well as a mass of minted silver coins and various offerings to Athena. Pericles also decided to move the entirety of the Delian League's treasure to the Parthenon in 454 BCE. This was a great testament to Athens' power over the rest of Greece. The riches were divided into two parts, the Demosia, which belonged to the city, and the Hiera Cremata, which was dedicated to the goddess and only used for religious purposes.
Written in stone? Fragments of inventories of the Parthenon treasure from the years 426 to 412 BCE, 5th century. London, the British Museum. Photo, the British Museum, London. The trustees of the British Museum.
And what did you think of the Acropolis? It truly is quite something, isn't it? A sacred sanctuary and an architectural marvel, all in one. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Quiz, okay.
You're confident enough for a test? Very well. Let us see how much you know. Which two gods competed for Athens' patronage? Correct. It was Poseidon and Athena who fought for Athens' patronage. As for who won, the answer is in the city's name. On to the next question. Who sculpted the statue of Athena in the Parthenon? Correct. The renowned sculptor Phidias made the statue, which was considered one of his masterpieces. And now, the final question.
The final question.
Which
Hope you're
king's
paying
tomb
attention.
was believed to be under the Caryatid porch? Perseus slew the Gorgon Medusa and founded Mykene, but he was not buried under the Caryatid porch. Keep trying.
Leonidas?
That is correct. Cecrops was the mythological first king of Athens, and his tomb was said to be under the Erechtheion. It seems you know much about this place. Well done, wanderer.
Well done. Take me to the next suggested tour.
Very well. On to the next tour.
Explore the world. Press to see what other tours are available in the world. Complete tours and discovery sites to unlock new characters and mounts. Also horses. That'd be interesting. the Acropolis of Athens. Sorry, estimated. We're gonna learn about mythology and architecture.
Welcome, traveler, to the ruins of Mykine. My name is Herodotus, and I am a traveler from Halicarnassus. I retrace the cause of various events, such as wars and great calamities. I describe what I see and record what I'm told, all with the aim of providing a better understanding of why these things occur. Look for me to introduce you to many sites. It is humbling to stand in the remnants of such a great civilization. Looking at these ruins, I am reminded that the past is never as far behind us as we think. These are the ruins of Mykine, center of the old Mykinian civilization. It was home to great warriors and heroes. In many ways, places like Athens and Sparta stand on the shoulders of its accomplishments. This tour will take you through its ruins and introduce you to its most important monuments, revealing its history in the process. I hope you enjoy yourself. I'll be waiting for you at the end of your visit.
The Mycenaean civilization flourished in the Late Bronze Age between 1600 and 1200 BCE. During this period, it was mainly located in the Peloponnese and central Greece. Mycenaeans were known for exploring distant lands. Notably, they battled the Hittite allied city of Walusa in a conflict that was believed to be the inspiration for Homer's Trojan War. But the Mycenaean people didn't only travel to fight. They learned much from their neighbors, the Minoans of Crete, such as how to write syllabic script on clay tablets. Such tablets provide evidence that Mycenaeans spoke an early form of Greek. They also tell of how great Mycenaean kings ruled over their warriors from opulent palaces in places like Mycenae, Thebes, and Knossos.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the map, look at the map. There's a lot. Excuse me.
The entrance to Agamemnon's Citadel, or the Lion Gate, is one of the most iconic monuments in Mycenae. It is impressive for both its height and for the intimidating rendering on its relief, which depicts two lions standing on either side of a column. Unfortunately, the lions' heads, which were presumably made of a precious metal or higher quality stone, have been lost to time. The gate was most likely meant to greet a triumphant king returning home from successful military campaigns and to awe foreign visitors.
The Lion Gate. I wonder if that's has anything
The
to do
entrance to Agamemnon's Citadel, or the Lion Gate, is one of the most iconic monuments in Mycenae. It is impressive for both its height and for the intimidating rendering on its relief, which depicts two lions standing on either side of a column. Unfortunately, the lions' heads, which were presumably made of a precious metal or higher quality stone, have been lost to time. The gate was most likely meant to greet a triumphant king returning home from successful military campaigns and to awe foreign visitors.
I think that's that little...
When these shafts were discovered by archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann in 1876, he believed the 6 gold-filled graves to be connected with the family of the great king Agamemnon, even going so far as to proclaim a gold mask he found within to be the death mask of Agamemnon. However, this was refuted by later excavations, which showed that the 19 bodies buried in the shafts dated back to a few hundred years before Agamemnon was even born. In fact, at the time of the body's burial, the Lion Gate and the citadel walls had not even been built yet. It's estimated that the people in the graves were members of the first Mycenaean dynasty. The graves later became a place of worship for Mycenaean kings, who raised walls to protect them. These walls helped preserve several incredible artifacts, including women's jewelry, death masks, and masterfully crafted weapons.
Huh. Interesting. Reproduction. Reproduction is so-called death mask of Agamemnon. I have to practice saying it. Agamemnon. By Emily Gillian, 1851 to 1924, 1550 to 1500 BCE. Huh. Death mask, huh? Where's our little spot up there? Viking. Foundation of the site. Perseus with the head of Medusa. Perseus with the head of Medusa, a copy of the marble statue from the Vatican Museum made by Antonio Canova between 1804 to 1806, modern period, New York. I wonder what that little hook was for on their sword. Kind of like a hook in the wrists or something. They clearly lack clothing, didn't they? Right? I mean, they got fancy helmets. Where am I at? Sweet. So I see that the discovery places has changed for the area.
By 1250 BCE, Mycenae was at the height of its power, and its living quarters and workshops were numerous. Houses were built everywhere, from the top of the palace's hill near the king's residence, to the slopes and terraces within the walls, to the nearby hills outside the citadel. At one point, the citadel's walls even had to be enlarged to make room for more quarters. The people who lived inside the citadel were those with high status in either the military, religious, or administrative sectors of the kingdom. This is reflected by the ceramic and metal vessels inside the houses, as well as their painted plastered walls.
Interesting. Citadel was hanging around 1250 BCE, painting by contemporary U.S. Below collection. Didn't have windows, huh? Wonder why.
A traveler seeking an audience with the king would have first ascended a steep ramp from the Lion Gate to the Citadel's summit. Here, they would have walked into the palatial complex through a grand entrance called the Propylon. Once inside, their gaze would immediately be drawn to the palace's main hall, a monumental area known as the Megaron. The vividly decorated Megaron, which glittered with precious objects and colorful frescoes in its heyday, was where the king would have received the traveler. If the king was feeling generous, he would have shared with the visitor the palace's most marvelous feature, its commanding and majestic view, which stretched from the plain of Argolis to the gleaming Aegean Sea.
Is this an actual picture? Megaron of scenery. The hill the palace was built on was steep and rugged, so some of the buildings had to be placed on artificial terraces supported by walls. Unfortunately, these preparations did not save the palace from an earthquake around 1200 BCE. The quake destroyed much of the structure, including part of the domos and buildings. As a result, historians have had to draw comparisons with better preserved palaces across Greece to fully reconstruct the palace. Huh. He's just right there. Any other? Nope. That's it. Let's go up here.
It was in this palace where a legendary Mycenaean king like Agamemnon would have held court. According to Homer and other poets, Agamemnon led the Greeks in the sack of Troy. Stories say that he was a fearsome warrior on par with Achilles, but also an overly ambitious and arrogant ruler. He sacrificed his own daughter, Iphigenia, to convince Artemis to grant his ships passage to Troy. After conquering the city, he returned to Mycenae with mounds of riches, and a Trojan named Cassandra as his concubine. Agamemnon's wife, Clytemnestra, was not pleased with her husband's sacrifice of their daughter. She plotted to murder her husband out of anger. The plot was successful, and, depending on the version of the story, Agamemnon was either murdered in his bath by Clytemnestra or killed by his cousin Aegisthus during a banquet.
Well, yeah, you probably shouldn't sacrifice your kids. Just a thought. The quarrel between Agamemnon and Achilles, oil painted by Giovanni. 1639 to 1709. Took him what? What is that? That's a long time to paint that. Or is that when they think it's they were chubby, huh? They were a little fatter. Look at them little babies. Look at the calves. Guys were pretty muscular. Turn to the tour guide for our quiz. I hope you guys were paying attention.
You've completed the tour. I trust it was an eye-opening experience. Though it did not last, Mykine was a sort of precursor to what would eventually become the Greek civilization we know today. It's important we remember them, if only to avoid repeating their mistakes. Now, what else would you like to do?
Take the quiz.
Then let's begin. First, I have quite a simple question. Which ancient city may have been the inspiration for Homer's depiction of Troy? No, the Myginians who were at war with Troy in the first place. Knossos was the supposed site of the legendary Minotaur, but it did not inspire Troy, although I am certain the Trojans wished they had a Minotaur on their side during the war. Either way, try again.
Did it tell me this?
Thebes played an important role in the tragedy of Oedipus, but it was not the basis for Troy. Keep trying. Yes, the Mykinians' conflict with the city of Wilusa allegedly inspired Homer's Trojan War. Now for the second question. Agamemnon sacrificed his daughter Iphigenia to convince which god to allow him to proceed to Troy?
Archimedes.
Yes, Agamemnon sacrificed Iphigenia to reconcile with Artemis, who then allowed his ships to pass to Troy. Now, one last question. What was the name of Agamemnon's Trojan concubine?
Cassandra. Not me, Cassandra. This.
Correct. Following the sack of Troy, Agamemnon sailed home with the Trojan prophetess named Cassandra. You've studied the ruins well, traveler. I appreciate your desire for more knowledge. Let us continue.
Might as well continue. This is kind of cool. It is kind of neat. Discover Olympia's splendor under the watchful eye of the gods. Mythology and religion.
Welcome, friend, to this especially sacred part of the Olympian sanctuary. My name is Barnabas, and I am a ship captain. Don't be fooled by my scarred eye. Though I've seen my share of combat, I mostly stick to trading these days. Well, trading and introducing visitors like you to wonderful sights like this. This place is practically vibrating with divine energy. I feel like if I look over my shoulder right now, Zeus will be staring back at me. The sanctuary of Olympia was dedicated to Zeus, king of the gods. It had close connections to the divine, as you will see very soon. I'll come find you when you're done, and we can talk about what you've learned.
This workshop was built for the renowned sculptor Phidias after his work on the Acropolis of Athens. In 435 BCE, Phidias came to Olympia to begin working on the great chryselephantine statue of Zeus. He died 5 years later, shortly after completing his masterpiece. This grand statue would become one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Phidias's workshop was located right next to the Temple of Zeus. Its structure has been well preserved, mostly owing to its conversion to a church in the 5th century CE. Archaeologists have also discovered lots of ancient materials in the surrounding area, such as casting molds and sculpting tools. The most famous artifact, however, is a cup bearing an inscription that aggressively states, "I belong to Phidias."
Huh. Cup, huh? Exiled from Athens, he was charged with stealing gold intended for the statue of Athena in the Parthenon, for attempting to portray himself and Hercules on the shield of Athena. Many other friends of Hercules, such as Aspasia, and were also persecuted around the same time. Stole some gold, huh?
On the 5th and final day of the Olympic Games, victors attended a ceremony where they were crowned with olive wreaths and showered in flowers. The crowns came from the sacred olive tree of Zeus, which was planted near the god's temple. A young boy trimmed the branches with a golden sickle before giving them to the Hellanodikai to turn into wreaths. After the crowning ceremony, it was time for great feasting and celebration.
Hi, how are you, Matthew? The list of Olympic winners is known mainly for 2 sources. By cross-referencing the sources with other documents, we know that there were approximately 3,500 winners from 776 BCE to 277 CE. However, only about 800 of these people are officially known. Amongst the victors were several remarkable athletes such as Callias of Athens. Callias not only won the Pancration event 472 BCE, but he was also the first Athenian to win at each of the 4 Pan-Hellenic Games. Diagoras of Rome, meanwhile, won the boxing event in Olympia in 474 BCE, and his 2 sons and 2 grandsons were also Olympic victors. But perhaps the most famous athlete from antiquity was the boxer Athenides of Thasos. In Olympia, he won the boxing event. Grave gold ring depicting Nike, a personification of victory.
Ωραία σχολή Αθηνά, βεβαίως. Μην νίκησε τα γέννητε τους υπόλοιπους.
Αν είναι φωτοκρατή στο διοικητή αντίμερο μαλαίων και ικανών.
Discovery site, the gymnasium. Gymnasium seen with athletes and trainers for a Red Cup. Ooh, brown horse. We got a brown horse. Tourist station. Hercules stealing the tripod. Ancient Greek heroes were viewed as intermediates between God and men. Consequently, hero cults were a distinctive feature of Greek religion. Most heroes originated from heroic epics, such as Pelops and Olympia, but then this quality was not always necessary. For example, hero cults. Real or suspected tombs.
Ο οποίος άπαντων ενέχει ένας πόλης. Ούτε δάνειον είναι αδύναμη από κοινούς τους τόπους. Τους ήθελε ψέστα με τους χρονούς η ζωή. Στο τέρμα της οδού. Είναι πάρα του μονοστάτε. Δεν συγχωρία πληροφορία τραβάνει.
Pelops was both a legendary Greek hero and the mythical founder of the Olympic Games. According to legend, Pelops fell in love with the beautiful Hippodamia. Her father, Oenomaus, the king of Pisa, disapproved of their union. Having once heard a prophecy that he would be killed by his son-in-law, Oenomaus was known to challenge his daughter's suitors to chariot races, killing them when he won. Still, Pelops was determined to win Hippodamia's heart. Before the race, he enlisted the help of Poseidon, who gave him a golden chariot with 4 winged horses. Pelops was able to win both the race and the hand of his beloved, while Oenomaus was dragged to death by his horses. The start of this famous race was depicted on the eastern pediment of the Temple of Zeus.
Try them on, see if they're fit.
Αυτή προσεδέχθη ταύτα προς χάρη σου και νυν τιμητέα.
You should hear this, because this is how I'm going to be with your boyfriend.
Καλώνημε και πολιώνημε, ορμία και θυροκοπώνε φιλανορώτηκε η κυρία, ρημονείς και φροντών ελπίδα,
Pelops was both a legendary Greek hero and the mythical founder of the Olympic Games. According to legend, Pelops fell in love with the beautiful Hippodamia. Her father, Oenomaus, the king of Pisa, disapproved of their union. Having once heard a prophecy that he would be killed by his son-in-law, Oenomaus was known to challenge his daughter's suitors to chariot races, killing them when he won. Still, Pelops was determined to win Hippodamia's heart. Before the race, he enlisted the help of Poseidon, who gave him a golden chariot with 4 winged horses. Pelops was able to win both the race and the hand of his beloved, while Oenomaus was dragged to death by his horses. The start of this famous race was depicted on the eastern pediment of the Temple of Zeus.
I'm going to challenge all your suitors to chariot race, Genesis. And then I'm going to kill them all.
The Heraion was a temple dedicated to Hera. It is one of the oldest temples in the sanctuary, dating back to approximately 590 BCE. The structure included columns painted with images of women who won the Heraia, an athletic competition made up of running events. Every 4 years, 16 women were chosen to make a veil dedicated to Hera. These women also organized the competition. though they did not compete in it. The Heraia was unique for its focus on female athletes, in contrast to the male-exclusive Olympic Games.
Huh. Data release for Olympia depicted Hera and a thunderbolt. That's a thunderbolt?
Hera was the goddess of women, marriage, family, and childbirth. She ruled Mount Olympus as Queen of the Gods, along with her husband and brother Zeus. Many mythological stories paint her as being annoyed at Zeus's many lovers and illegitimate offspring. In Greek art, Hera is usually depicted as matronly and regal, often wearing a crown or sitting on a throne. She is also sometimes seen holding a pomegranate, a symbol of both fertility and death. Hera's cult was very popular across Greece, and Olympia even minted her image on its coinage.
Who would have thought that they built these like religious cults around these goddesses? Aphrodite, Hera, Athena.
Επικαλούμε σε Μάκαρ, πολιώνυμε, περίπολε και τελετάρχα, Θεόν Πάτερ, Ιδέ και Ιε, σκυπτούχε.
Drachmi of Syracuse, signed by artist Human and depicted a quadriga on reverse.
Μεγαλώνυμε και πολιώνυμε,
Θεά, αγλαότιμε.
Ναι, ενθάδεσμε.
What is this? Eye over here. Zanes were what? What is it? Zanes were bronze statues of Zeus that were paid for with the fines of silver employers like athletes who were found to have cheated. Their names were etched on the pedestals, which was a source of shame. Altar of Zeus. This altar was made of sacrificed ashes mixed with river water. The third day of the games, 100 oxen offered by were killed, giving them sovereignty over
One of the highlights of the Olympic Games was a ceremony that took place on the third day of the festival. It began with a procession of athletes, ambassadors, Hellenodikai, and animals. The group made their way around the Altis until they arrived at the Temple of Zeus. Then the animals were brought in front of the altar of Zeus and offered as a sacrifice. This sacrifice was known as a hecatomb, a word that originally described the sacrifice of 100 oxen. During the hecatomb, the bones and legs of the animals were burned and carried to the top of a mound of ashes from previous sacrifices. Meanwhile, the meat of the animals was saved for a large banquet held later in the evening.
Οι
Η ακριβής τελείως, ουκ έστιμη σπουδαίων, ο εμός πατήρου δε μία την αλλαγή.
The Olympic Games were dedicated to Zeus, and all the ceremonies and events were hosted in his honor. It is no surprise that the largest temple in the sanctuary was the Temple of Zeus. While most temples were restricted to priests, the Temple of Zeus welcomed all who visited Olympia. This openness was most likely meant to show off the gold and ivory statue of Zeus that stood within the temple's walls. The building also featured art depicting both versions of the Olympic festival's founding myth. The eastern pediment showed a scene from the legendary race between Pelops and Oinomaos. The temple's metapiece, meanwhile, showed the 12 labors of Heracles, the other mythical founder of the games.
Okay, go ahead and put that in the and then title the envelope, please. What is this now? Not only was the Temple of Zeus the largest temple in Olympia, it was also the largest temple in all of the Peloponnese region. Whoa, okay, what's...
τα σπουδαίας αξίας των ιστοριών του. Τουναντίον, επιμηχανάται ταύτας και προσμυθοποιεί. Αποκρύπτει την προαίρεση αυτού εν το ενδύματι της συγκατανεμωμένης ιστορίας.
Well, yeah. Portraits of philosophers. Though not part of the official competition, the first day of the Olympic Festival featured radicals and teachings from poets and philosophers. Because Olympia was a public space, it provided these orders an excellent opportunity to earn the ear of wealthy aristocrats. with the goal of turning them into future patrons. Oral tradition was so important in ancient Greece that some Panhellenic festivals, like the Pythian Games in Delphi, included ordinating contests as part of their official program.
Η τραγωδία διαφθείρει τους νέους και ούτι καταμαλθακίζονται. Εκπλήσει, αποφέρεται το πυρί του ατόπου υποθάλποντι λέγει ιδέο άνθρωπος και ιδέ το δέον πράτην. Συνίσχυ τον δικαιώνα του μυαλού, όγε ουκ έστειν υγεία, κατάσταση του λογικού του, ο λογικός νους, ανέβει στην απολωστάδια και ελπισικούς η τάστη, ως και άλλος,
Ulysses' most famous Zeus Thunderbolt reverse type of stator on at least struck for Olympia.
Τραγωδία ανέρεσης εστί, οψιασμός, λυκιόμενος είναι να κλονίσει την ισορροπία του πνεύματος, τας γυναίκας διαπέχεστε πόρο τάφης.
Zeus was the god of sky and thunder, and king of the Olympians. He ruled the world from his home on Mount Olympus. The child of Cronus the Titan, Zeus overthrew his father and cast the Titans out in a great battle known as the Titanomachy. He had children of his own with his wife Hera, including Ares, Hephaestus, Hebe, and Eileithyia. He also had many children without Hera, much to her consternation, but there are too many to list here. Zeus was believed to have control over the lives of mortals, as his many epithets attest to. For example, his title Horkios made him a keeper of oaths, while Xenios was the name conferred to him as a protector of hospitality. In Greek art, Zeus was usually depicted holding a thunderbolt and sitting on a throne, befitting his position as king.
The abduction of Europia by Zeus in the form of a bull, seen from red figure vase.
The Temple of Zeus was home to the Chryselephantine statue of Zeus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The statue, made of gold, ivory, and wood, was sculpted by the renowned artist Phidias. At 13 meters tall, it was as impressive looking as it was difficult to maintain. Oil was used to protect the wood and ivory from cracking and to prevent general decay. While the statue does not exist today, it was thankfully described by Pausanias in great detail, so its legacy lives on.
Huh. You would, huh? Roman era bronze copy of statue of Zeus by Phidias. 1st and 2nd century period. I wonder what the harp is. Oh, we gotta take a test. I hope you guys were paying attention because we're gonna quiz.
I hope you enjoyed your visit and feel a little bit closer to the gods.
Well, as close as a mortal can get.
Is there anything else you'd like to do? Excellent. Let's see what you remember. Your first question is a simple one.
That's what they said last time.
Which goddess was Zeus's wife? Correct! Not only was Hera Zeus's wife, she was gods with your great wisdom. Of course! Follow me, my friend!
He was gifted a chariot with 4 winged horses. that's how he won. $23 Okay. Athens and trade. That's not me. That's my fucking controller doing whatever it wants to do. Walk through Athens' most popular meeting place and discover its vibrant markets and monuments. 23 minutes.
Greetings, wanderer, and welcome to the Agora of Athens. I love this Agora. Where else could you find a common fish merchant and an extravagant jewelry seller within a few feet of each other? It's that kind of variety that makes city life so rich and exciting. The Agora is the beating heart of any Greek city. It is a place where all types of people may gather, from citizens and foreigners to magistrates and philosophers. All manner of business is conducted here, including political meetings, legal proceedings, and trade. When you finish exploring, come find me, and we can talk more. See you soon, wanderer.
Okay.
The Agora was the civic center of Athens, but it wasn't only frequented by politicians and city officials. The area housed a market where people could purchase food and other goods from merchants. It was also frequented by philosophers, who used the public space to establish schools and pass on their teachings to students. Religion had its place as well. Temples dedicated to Hephaestus and Apollo were located in the Agora, along with the altar of the 12 gods and the monument of the eponymous heroes. The painted stoa, or stoa poikile, derived its name from the panel paintings on its wall. The paintings were created in the 5th century BCE by famous artists like Polygnotus and depicted Greek military victories like the Battle of Marathon. The stoa served as a public meeting place for citizens, but it was especially popular with philosophers who used the space to pass on their teachings. In 301 BCE, the philosopher Zeno of Kition chose the Stoa Poikile as the location for his school of philosophy, the appropriately dubbed Stoicism.
Altar with the myth of Adonis. This altar dedicated to 12 gods seems to have served as both a place of refuge and a topographical point of reference. Herodotus used the altar to give sample distances, and it's functioned as a milestone for all distances in Attic The altar was dedicated on the archer in 522 BCE. The exact identity of the 12 gods is still debated, but it is commonly accepted that they were the same 12 Olympian gods that were represented at the East Frenzy of the Parthenon.
Μεγαλώνει με θεά, αλλά όχι με τεχνογνή την πολυόρδη. Πολυλιστική η ένεση της.
Trade in the Agora was supervised by magistrates. There were 5 agoranomoi who kept order in the market, controlled the quality of goods, and collected market dues. This provided revenue to the city and helped pay the magistrates and those in charge of maintaining order. The market benefited everyone. Customers bought what they needed, merchants made their living, and city officials received the money they needed to keep the wheels of democracy turning.
Interesting.
The original temple of Apollo Patrous was built around 535 BCE by Pisistratos, but was destroyed by the Persians during their invasion a few decades later. It long remained in ruins, except for the altar, which was left standing as a reminder of the Persian sacrilege. Eventually, a new temple was built in the 4th century BCE. Inside was a statue made by Euphranor, the same artist who painted in the Stoa of Zeus. The temple held special significance in Athens, as it was connected to the origin of the city's people. The name Patrous, meaning fatherly, referenced the belief that Apollo was the father of Aeon, founder of the Ionian Greeks, from whom all Athenians are descended.
Apollo with Kythria and palm trees seen from the lake. The Metropolitan Museum of Art gift. Museum of Art gift of Mr. and Mrs. Leon Pomeranz, 1953. Apollo was a complex deity with several different attributions. He was the god of art, music and poetry, light and knowledge, prophecies and medical healing. He was the son of Zeus and Leto, and the brother of Artemis. Since Hera was very jealous of Zeus' extramarital lovers, Leto was forced to seek refuge in Delos to bear her child. Apollo is depicted as a young, beardless, and beautiful man. His main symbols were the lion, the bow, the tripod, and the laurel branch. Is it depicted there? What is the significance of the tripod? Apollo had several sanctuaries in Greece, but the most famous was the sanctuary in Delphi, where the oracle resided. Oh. Apollo.
The Temple of Hephaestus overlooks the Agora from the Colonus Agoreus hill. Today, it is one of the best preserved temples in Greece, owing to its conversion to a church in the Middle Ages. But while this transformation preserved the structure, it also damaged the surrounding sculptures. The temple was dedicated not only to Hephaestus, the god of metallurgy, but also to Athena Ergane, goddess of arts and crafts. Nearly every part of the Hephaestion was lavishly decorated with depictions of famous mythological events, like the labors of Theseus. The Theseus scenes gave the temple the nickname Thesion, a name that lives on today as a city district in Athens.
Look at this big old dude. Temple. There it is, Genesis. There's a real temple. Huh? There's a picture of it. What? Who would have thought you get so much knowledge from a video game?
The Boulaterion was another building in the Agora that contributed to the democratic process. It housed the Athenian Council of Citizens, the Boulé. This council of 500 was composed of 50 members from each Greek tribe, all of whom served a one-year term. They were chosen by lot from among citizens over 30. Every month, one group of 50 was chosen to lead the Boulé's executive committee, the Prytaneis. The Prytaneis met every day of the month and called meetings of the full council in the Boulaterion, where they spent their time discussing bills.
Boulaterion. The Boulé. Bronze statue of an orator. Bills passed by the Prytaneans had to be submitted to the citizen assembly. Coordinating and calling the assembly. When laws were voted on, they sent the relevant decrees to the city's magistrates and inhabitants. They were the link between decisions made in the assembly and their implementation. City finances, magistrate quarters, sacred affairs. Oh, we got Layla. Layla. To be on the ship with
The
us?
Prytaneon was one of the most important buildings in the Agora, as it was the headquarters of the Prytaneis. The Prytaneis was the executive committee of the Boulé, who ran the city's daily operations. The Prytaneis dined in the Prytaneon, and 17 of them slept on site to ensure there were always officials available to deal with emergencies. The Prytaneon also housed the official weights and measures of the city. The Fire of Hestia, which provided sacred fire for all public sacrifices, was also located there.
Huh? We're burning people? Is that what we're doing? In the sacred fire? Little weird, boy. Little weird. Like, I'm sure the people weren't like... Well, we don't know yet. We don't know what they're sacrificing. Maybe we'll learn.
The Heliaia was the most important court in Athens and was presided over by a group of judges called Heliasts. Judging was a regular part of an Athenian citizen's life, with trials happening almost every day. Heliasts were chosen randomly based on two factors. First, that they were on the official list of 6,000 potential Heliasts. Second, that they were present at court on the day of the trial. A stipend of 2 obols was established by Pericles to compensate for the loss of work while on Heliast duty, and also to encourage participation in the judiciary process.
Yeah? What's this now? Helia's tablet bearing his name, his deme, and the seal of Athens. relief depicting Theseus slaying a center. Half man, half animal. View of Heroes Monument. The monument of the infamous heroes was built in honor of the heroes from whom the 10 founding tribes of Athens took their name. The bronze statues were erected on a marble base that also served as an official notice board for the Athenian people. Athens was divided into 10 tribes, wherein reorganized in 508 BC. The tribe's 10 heroes were chosen from amongst the mythical figures of Athens by the oracle at Delphi. The chosen figures were Pan, Laos, Ajax, these tribal structure meant to citizens voted by tribes. And the Council of the Boule featured a rotation of tribal delegations. Where's... Not exactly how you would see it.
In the Agora, an Athenian could buy and sell many different products. The permanent retail market was divided into sections according to the category of merchandise. Merchants and craftsmen who worked in the market could be citizens, foreigners, or even freed slaves. They sold everything from food and clothes to jewelry and slaves. With so much variety, competition was fierce. And that competition helped regulate the market's prices.
The free market, capitalism, Greek scale. It's almost equal. Weights measure varied from city to city. As a result, transactions in Agora had to respect the official weights measures of Athens, which were kept in the Bouletron. Consequently, merchants were required to visit the Bouletron and test their measuring devices against the city's official standards. The weight system was closely linked to the weight standard of coinage. The basic unit was the obol, 0.72 grams, but there were others, including the drachma. Also used for liquid volumes, such as metamus, which was used to calculate grain transactions, and the metrics, which was used to measure wine. Genesis, what are you cooking? What? Oh, did you eat your chicken wings? Black-figured Hydra with scenes of women at a fountain house. Water was supplied to the area through fountain houses. Aqueducts delivered the water to reservoir, and the overflow was evacuated through a drain. Fountain houses are amongst the earliest public buildings in the Agora. Look at how they cut the stone there so that you could reach in and grab it. Interesting. South Stoa. Look at this. Unsurprisingly located at the south side of the Agora. Built during the first decade of the building was about 80 meters long and large enough to contain 16 rooms. Based on evidence of dining couches lining the walls, it is thought that some of these rooms were dining halls where magistrates were fed at public expense. The purpose of another room was inferred by the discovery of an inscription that suggested it was used by the Mediterranean magistrates in charge of weights and measures. It's possible the other rooms had similar commercial functions, and excavations in the buildings have turned up numerous coins.
The Heliaio wasn't the only court in Athens. This other court was located next to the South Stoa. Historians believe it to be a court based on the discovery of a nearby box containing 7 bronze ballots. These ballots were used by jurors to give their verdicts. The reason trials were so common in Athens might have been related to their democratic regime, which promoted the individual's right to demand reparations for injustice. However, not all legal matters were settled in this fashion. If a claim was small enough, it was settled individually by a magistrate. Public trials were reserved for more serious offenses, such as murder, theft, and political crimes.
Socrates. That's what he looked like, huh? Interesting. Trials. Trials of Sophocles. Trials were presided over by official magistrates. If the jury was composed of citizens or Hellenes, any citizen could make an accusation, and if the defendant was convicted, the accuser received a portion of the sentence fine. Wish that happened these days. This practice led to the eventual appearance of professional accusers, known as... So it became a money-making, huh? The accusers and defendant were given equal time to speak, and their allotted time was measured by a water clock called a Philhydra. Their speeches were often prepared by professionals known as logographs. After the speeches, jurors secretly cast their votes by putting a token in one of the 2 urns. Interestingly, if the accusation was unfounded, the accuser could be convicted instead. Huh. Interesting, huh?
Οι μύσεις των Ιθιοπολών είναι διάστημα στα
The mint was where the city made its coinage. It is believed that Athens' mint was in the city's agora. as modern excavations have turned up small disc-shaped pieces of metal used to make coins. Much of the silver required for minting coinage came from the Lavrion silver mines. Athens was so dependent on the mines that when they lost them during the Peloponnesian War, the city was forced to melt down a gold statue of Athena to mint gold coins and avert a monetary crisis.
Lot of treasure mine. Wonder how much one of them coins is worth nowadays. Let's be honest, we're talking about mints, right? So everything has to be weighed the same. They look very semi-uniform, huh? They got the same thickness there and the owl. That's because of Athena, right? $17.2 grams. $42.2 grams. Huh. Interesting. What is this?
Η σκάπος είναι μεταξύ των σιτίων και της αποθήκης θύρα νεωμένης.
You have now experienced the Agora, following in the footsteps of countless Athenians before you. I hope the trip has impressed upon you how important this place was to trade, politics, and law. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Very well. Let's begin. Which philosopher's school took its name from the painted stoa? Yes, Zenon taught at the stoa, and so he and his followers were dubbed Stoics. Time for another question. What other name has the Iphistion gone by?
Huh?
What other name has the Iphistion gone by? The Voulefterion was where the council known as the Vouli met to discuss civic matters. Keep trying.
The Parthenon?
That is another building entirely, located on Athens' Acropolis. Try another answer. The Temple of Hephaestus depicted scenes from the labors of Heracles, but it was never known as the Heraklion. Try again.
Well, I only have one.
Correct. The name was inspired by the scenes showing the hero Theseus, which decorate the temple. Only one question left. When Athens lost the Lavrion silver mines during the Peloponnesian War, which statue did they melt down to mint new coins?
The one of Athena.
Correct. The Athenians melted down a statue of Athena to mint gold coins. It's clear you are very familiar with the Agora of Athens. I'm impressed.
Kind of.
As you wish. Let's see what else Greece has in store for you.
Εγώ δι' αρώματα εκ Κορίνθου και Κρήτης, Ωρεύοίε εκ Κυρίνης και εξ Αθηνών, και Ίνος εκ Θάσου τε και Ρόδου, για να ζητήσετε μόνον τι, δυνατόν εστι ευρίσκην έτη, δε Ίνων παρία. Έχουμε αγία και...
Here, visitor, and welcome to this sacred site. Delphi is an amazing place to visit if you're looking for information. I've come here on several occasions in search of answers to some particularly puzzling questions. And sometimes I even found them. This is Delphi, home of the renowned oracle. Greeks considered it the navel of the world. Pilgrims and kings journeyed here from all over Greece and beyond, seeking advice from Apollo through the voice of his interpreter, Pythia. During your visit, you will experience the sanctuary through a pilgrim's eye and discover how important oracles and prophecies were to the people of Greece. Now, go off and begin your pilgrimage. I will be waiting for you at the end of your visit.
Okay.
On their journey to the Temple of Apollo, pilgrims walked this sacred path up Mount Parnassus. The summer sun beat down hot on their backs. Along the way, they took in the magnificent monuments, treasuries, and statues that adorned the road. These landmarks were tokens of people's reverence for the oracle's benevolence. All were dedicated to Apollo, and most were offered by cities to commemorate military victories. The monuments represented not only their donors' piety, but also their power and wealth. The sanctity of Delphi has endured to the present day, and visitors still take this very same route.
Really? Well, this could be of information on Delphi, what is the French School of Athens, an institute that has been researching the site since 1860. Its work has led to a very deep understanding of Delphi and its evolution over time. One of their main challenges early on was that the iconic site laid under meters of sediment located in the very much inhibited village of Castra. Through the school's efforts, 1,000 villagers were completely relocated. With the village empty, a railway was built to help remove excavated materials, allowing researchers to rediscover the sacred site. Restoration.
Κοσμήματα δυνάμεως, οπομένως ήλπα, μέγιστος κίνδυνος, μέγιστον κέρδος.
The oath of the 7 leaders before Thebes. Theodore Charles. Much better coins there, right? They're actually round and they look uniformed.
Προσέχει και εντός του οίκου.
Gideon Treasury. Well, that's actually it then, huh? Over the Persians at Marathon.
Είναι ο πρεσβύτερος, τέθηκε άπαντα φίλη. Τι σπρεοδοτεί.
Sure, we'll go up there.
One of the most impressive dedications to Apollo came from the Cnidians, a Greek population that colonized the island of Lipari, north of Sicily. The story behind this dedication is notable. The Cnidians were at war with the Etruscans in the Tyrrhenian Sea. Seeking a good omen, the Cnidians consulted the oracle, and following her advice, they successfully captured 20 enemy ships. To thank Apollo, they offered the god the same number of statues as ships seized.
Bronze statue of Apollo found in the sea near according to him, the Canadian barbarism.
Εγώ σας αδελφώ τι λέει, πως μήματα δυνάμεμα εισπρέφησης στο άρχισε άρτητα χωρίς, αλλά εμπόρω
Έστι του χρόνου φάση. Οπότε στις αυτίδες. Ίστα όταν η μύτηρ ή ποιος περσέ. Μία πίτρια αναμένως από τον
Okay, that's where they do. Shit, a weird noise, huh?
Έστι τούτο το δώρο να άφησε πουτά. Ποιος έστι κλέπτης.
Next to the Naxian Sphinx stood a simple structure to display offerings from the Athenians, most of which were spoils of war. In particular, these offerings, called ex-votos, were prows of sunken Persian ships. The Athenians built the portico after their naval victory over the Persians in 478 BCE.
Αποφέρεται το πυρί.
Prow of a Persian ship from a Persian Turkey on the obverse, the great king Xerxes.
Οι χαρακτήρες εν τες τραγωδίες προαιρούνται του ύψους της διανοίας ένεγε. Τραγωδία εκλαμβάνει της ιστορίας αυτών και κρίται κάπου.
Sybil Delphi oil painting by after Michelangelo. A Sybil with a prophetess. Legends say there was 10 Sibyls in the ancient world, with each one located at different sacred sites. One Sibyl even called Delphi her home long before the appearance of the Pythia, and allegedly delivered her prophecies from atop a stone.
Τραγωδία ανέρεσης εστί. Εστί μοιασμός του διόμενος ή να κλονίσει την ισορροπία του πνεύματος. Τας γυναίκας διαπέτες.
Apollo. Take the famous naval victory at Salmias in 1840 or 1840, 480 BCE. The bronze statue was 6 meters tall. This was 24 feet tall and held an asp with a ship's stern ornament in its hand as a symbol of the battle. Wonder if we're gonna get a figurehead after this one. It would make sense that you got a figurehead. Tripods. Yeah, what are the significant of these things? These two tripods weighed 400 kilograms each and were dedicated to the tyrant of Syracuse after his victory in the Battle of Hermia, whose brother
Once arriving before the temple, pilgrims wishing to consult the oracle had to first pay a tax. This tax gave them the initial right to approach the altar of Apollo and make an animal sacrifice to the god. But before proceeding to the Pythia, the preliminary ritual had to succeed. If the animal reacted favorably and showed signs of acceptance to the god, it was sacrificed, and the pilgrim would be allowed to enter the temple to question the Pythia.
goddess stands by an altar to pour an offering from a file scene of the.
Καταδικαστέα ημινέθηκε αξίε το τραγωδοποιό. Τραγωδοποιός έστειλε έπους ως...
At last we arrive at the Temple of Apollo, where the oracle relayed her prophecies. The temple was the final destination of those seeking an audience with the Pythia, and its appearance matched the majesty of its purpose. Atop its imposing columns, the structure's pediments displayed famous mythological scenes, sculpted by the renowned Greek artist Antenor. But as grand as the temple looked from the outside, it paled in comparison with what happened within.
Oh, please do tell me. That's it? Originally constructed in the 7th century BCE, the Temple of Apollo burned down in 548 BCE, only to be rebuilt towards the end of the 6th century BCE with the help of funds from an aristocrat Athenian family. The temple was destroyed again by an earthquake in the 4th century BCE and required further reconstruction by the architects. This time it had managed to stay standing until 390 BCE when it was destroyed by the Roman Emperor Lysias.
Και το επιχείρημα αυτό καθ' αυτό
Prophecies were given in the most restricted part of the temple, the Aditon, by a chaste woman known as the Pythia. Before delivering prophecies, she first purified herself with water, then burned laurel leaves and barley flour to begin the ritual. Finally, while seated on a tripod surrounded by offerings, the Pythia delivered Apollo's messages. Her words were often strange and indecipherable, and required further interpretation by the temple's priests. Despite much research, the exact causes of the oracle's behavior while prophesying are debated to this day.
Really? Now they're sitting, so is it a chair? Because that's the tripod, right? Predictions were offered in proposals to common mortals and required interpretation by priests. Herodotus tells us that the famously rich king Croesus once misunderstood one of the oracle's prophecies. After asking about the outcome of a war, he would declare. The oracle predicted a kingdom would fall. Unfortunately, Croesus, it was his own kingdom that fell, right into Persians' hands. She wasn't specific. Meditation. I don't know why it's telling me that now, but we'll go ahead and do it. See what's going on.
Κατέχεις ωραίων δρυμούς.
Myths say that while searching for an oracle who could impart their words to mortals, Apollo established a sanctuary on Mount Parnassos. Apollo took over this site by slaying its sinister guardian, the snake-like Pytho.
A British Museum electrotype modern copy of a statue of Croton depicting Apollo killing Pytho with his bow. On the other side, Hercules is seated, holding a laurel branch and a club. There's the tripod.
Μεγαλώνει με και πολιώνει με. Χθονία και φυροχτώ. Φυλαγρότικη ευκαιρία.
Σύμφεα, ως ειρήνης πολύωργων και κόρονη υγεία, επεβόλβη συνεννόηση.
Your visit is complete. I hope you now understand how important this sanctuary was, and how it affected the lives of people both in the Greek world and beyond its borders. To be honest, I could speak about Delphi all day. But what would you like to do now?
We'll take the quiz. You guys ready?
You wish to test your knowledge?
Yeah.
Let's begin with a simple question.
You said that last time.
What did the oracle use to purify herself before her predictions?
Do you all remember? Do you remember? Better remember, it just happened. Water.
Correct. The oracle used water for purification. Time for another question. Which god was believed to speak through the oracle at Delphi? Yes, the oracle allegedly spoke the words of Apollo, which were then interpreted by priests. One final question for you. Delphi is situated on which mountain? Correct. Delphi stood on the slope of Mount Parnassos. Well done, traveler. Your knowledge rivals that of the wisest philosophers. As you wish. It has been a pleasure sharing Delphi with you.
Okay, we got
Δεόν πάτερ, δε και ιε, σκυπτούχε, κούρε δημάτορ
Άκουσα καλούς καρπούς.
We got 6 of 17, so I want to see what Sphinx. So there is no what was the what's the harp one? Take to the stage to learn about ancient Greek theater and drama competitions. So it says in this area, right? 7 of 17 discovery sites. In this region, which I assume is this. I see. How long are we going to be going? 2 hours? Can I see, where is he at? He should be right up here, shouldn't he?
Τραγωδία
And he can take
ανέρεση.
me on another...
Αλίστας τραγωδίας Σοφοκλής δείχνεις η μην την τρόπο επιτυγχάνεται τούτο. Εν μόνον πράγμα τελείται. Η μεταλόγου εξήγηση των πουλήσεων ζητήματος. Η τραγωδία κινείται μεταξύ τριών βαθμών. Δύσιν εκτιμήσετε όντως το απροσδόκητο του πελάτου και θεμελιώστε τα δεδομένα. Ναι, αλλά η αφήγηση της ιστορίας γίγνεται μεταλληλικίας.
Your visit is complete. I hope you now understand how important this sanctuary was, and how it affected the lives of people both in the Greek world and beyond its borders. To be honest, I could speak about Delphi all day, but what would you like to do now? As you wish. It has been a pleasure sharing Delphi with you.
So now if I exit... Famous cities, battles in war. Okay. Characters. Yeah, let's see what we get here. Now... Oh, I get characters to play. Timeline, controls, map. What is this? Interesting. All right, we'll be right back. We're gonna eat, do some chores, and then we'll be right back. So appreciate y'all being here, and hopefully y'all learned some stuff. I think this is interesting that they put this in a game, and yeah. But we'll continue it on when the next time I get on. I'm curious to see if we get these characters in the main game in any way. She's the former employee of Abstergo Industries. Or if it's just characters. I mean, there's a lot of... Master Explorer Discovery sites found. 33 of 110. That looks kind of like cool armor. Victoria. Oh, how many Discover sites found? But this is all. Oh, I didn't get Phoebe. Oh yeah, I did. I got her. All my attempts to getting 100% complete. So, and it's a little break from the other stuff. Alright, everyone. We'll catch you on the next one. Probably about an hour or so. We'll be back. So, hope you all are having a good day. Hope you have a good week. And if I don't see you on the next one.